Hello everyone. Today we'll discuss the lecture 1 on electric heating. My name is Manteja. I am assistant professor in Department of EEE BBC Engineering College, Odalarevu. So in this lecture we will discuss the following topics. First one, the introduction of electric heating. Next one, the advantages of electric heating. Next one, the modes of heat transfer. Next, the essential requirements of good heating element. Next one, the classification of electric heating. Next, resistance heating principle. And next one, direct resistance heating. And next one, indirect resistance heating. While we come to the introduction, if we see the heat plays a major role in every today life. Also, the all heating requirements in domestic purpose such as cooking, room heater, immersion water heaters, and electric toasters, and also in industrial purposes such as welding, melting of metals, tempering, hardening, and drying can be met easily by electric heating over the other forms of conventional heating. So, if you see, the heat and electricity both are interchangeable. Heat and also can be produced by passing the current through material to be heated. This is called electric heating. There are various methods of heating a material, but electric heating is considered to be far superior compared to the heat produced by coal, oil, natural gas. So if you want to see the what are the advantages of electric heating, first one, it is economical. So it is very easy and it's a cost effective. Second one, cleanliness. Next, pollution free, easy of control, uniform heating, high efficiency, better working conditions, high temperature, safety, and heating of non-conducting materials. So each and every point which we see here in the advantages mainly indicates that the use of this electric heating over other conventional heatings because it is superior as compared to other conventional heating. Modes of heat transfer. While we discuss these modes of heat transfer, nothing but how heat is transferred. But we see that the transmission of heat energy from one body to another body because there is transfer by different types of following methods. One is conduction, convention, and radiation. So in solids, if you want to heat, well, then we'll use the conduction process. The second one, if you want to heat the liquids, we'll use convention. If you want to heat the faraway objects, then we'll use the method called radiation. So what are the next one we will discuss here is essential requirements of good heating element. So the heating element which we want to heat should have the following essential requirement, that is high specific resistance, you should have high melting point, low temperature coefficient of resistance, free from oxidation, high mechanical strength, non-corrosive and economical. So the heating element if it have all the following essential requirements, then it can be easily heated. So next one we'll discuss about the classification of electric heating. So while we see this electric heating, it is mainly divided into two types. First one, power frequency heating. Second one, high frequency heating. This resist power frequency heating is divided into two types. First one, resistance heating. Next one, arc heating. Again, this resistance heating is divided into two types. One is direct resistance heating. Second one, indirect resistance heating. Similarly, the arc heating is also divided into two types: direct arc heating, indirect arc heating. So while we come to the high frequency heating, it is divided into two types, that is dielectric heating, induction heating. Here again this induction heating is divided into two types: direct core type induction heating, coreless type induction heating. So first of all, we will discuss about this resistance heating principle. Or what is the resistance heating principle? Whenever an electric current is made to pass through an high resistivity body or substance, a power loss takes place in it, which results in the form of heat energy. That is, resistance heating is passed upon the I square R effect. This method of heating has a wide applications such as drying, baking of potteries, commercial and domestic cooking, and heat treatment of metals such as annealing and hardening. In ovens, when wire resistances are employed for heating, temperature are about 100 degrees, sorry, 1000 degrees centigrade can be obtained. So here the electric current is made to pass through high resistance, then the power loss takes place in it. That power loss is nothing but I square R effect. So by this I square R effect, some heat is produced. That heat is required for heating the required material. So again, before only we had discussed that the resistance heating method is divided into two types. First one is direct resistance heating, indirect resistance heating. Now we will discuss about direct resistance heating. So while observing this figure, we can observe that this figure gives a clear view about our clear view about direct resistance heating. So in a furnace, there is some charge at the bottom and two electrodes are dipped in this furnace, and some AC supply or DC supply is applied to this furnace. One here the two electrodes, one is positive, one is negative. Also some charge is at the bottom and some high resistivity powder is sprinkled at the top of this uh, charge. Why it is sprinkled? Nothing but it is sprinkled at the top of the charge to mainly avoid the short circuits. So we'll discuss the explanation by points. In this method, the electrodes are dipped in a material or charge to be heated. The charge may be in the form of powder, pieces, or liquid. Electrodes are connected to either AC or DC supply, as shown in the above figure. In case of AC or single phase, in case of DC or single phase AC, two electrodes are immersed and three electrodes are immersed in the charge and connected to supply in case of three phase availability. So clearly we can say that if it is using AC or DC supply, only two electrodes are used, and when you're using three phase supply, three electrodes are used. When the metal pieces are to be heated, the powder of lightly resistive is sprinkled over the surface of the charge to avoid the direct short circuit. Whenever the current flows through the charge, heat is produced in the charge itself. This method has the highest efficiency. So, as the heat is directly transferred to the charge, this method is called as direct resistance heating. As the current in this case is not variable, so that automatic temperature control is not possible. This method of heating is employed in salt bath furnaces and electrode boiler for water heating. Second method of resistance heating is indirect resistance heating. So this method is somewhat different to the direct resistance heating. If we observe that the heating element is placed in a jacket type material, and also this combination is placed in a furnace which is having some charge at the bottom. So we can observe that here there are electrodes present which is required to be heated, and also these two electrodes are one is positive electrode, one is negative electrode. Again some charge is placed at the bottom of the furnace, but here the electrodes does not have direct contact with the charge. In the indirect resistance heating method, high current is passed through the heating elements. So we can observe that whenever some AC supply or DC supply is passed through these electrodes, when the pass two electrodes, then again some I square R power loss is produced. This power loss is nothing but required heat, and heat is here directly not directly transferred, it is indirectly transferred. So this method is called as indirect heating method. In case of industrial heating, some types of heating elements is placed in a cylinder which is surrounded by a charge placed in a jacket called heating chamber, as shown in the above figure. The heat is proportional to power loss produced in the heating element and is delivered to the charge by one or more methods, that is either conduction, convection, or radiation. In this method, the heat is transferred to the charge indirectly. So we said that already it is an indirect resistance heating. So this arrangement provides uniform temperature and automatic temperature control. So here automatic temperature control is possible, but in direct resistance heating, automatic temperature control is not possible. Generally, this method of heating is used in immersion water heaters, room heaters, and other resistance oven used in domestic and commercial cooling and salt bath furnaces. So for today, we had discussed about these basics of introduction, advantages of electric heating, classification, modes of heat transfer, the resistance heating principle, direct resistance, and indirect resistance heating. So in the next lecture, we'll discuss about the other type of heating methods.